Do you think it's naughty to copy someone else's card? Hi and welcome, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm really excited to be casing a card. This card here, as a matter of fact, from Michele. And basically what I want to talk about today is inspiration and how I find inspiration from a card. So I've got Michele's card and I'm looking at the card and I just love it. That's why I chose it. She said I could choose any card off her website that she'd created. It was very difficult to do that. She loves a clean and simple card, and so do I. So what I've done here is I've looked at the colours that she's used in her card and I'm trying to sort of mimic those. So I've opened up my Altenew colours here and I went with the Tea Party group of colours. And initially I was going with one of the greens. I just wasn't happy with it because I want to use the bauble stamps from Altenew. I knew I was going to need a couple of different layers, so I thought it'd be actually a lot more fun to incorporate like the green meadows with the sweet dreams, so that sort of real bright green with the blue green. So let's see how we go. Now when I'm designing a card, and I often do it this way, I lay out my stamps and sort of work out what I want the look of. But with Michele's card, what I've done is I've kind of flipped her design over. So she had her whole image focused down in the bottom left corner. My main image is going to be focused up in the top left-hand corner. So I'm just sort of laying out my stamps here, working out my main sort of design. I want to use 3 of the brilliant baubles because we know that in design, groups of 3 or 5 or groups of odd numbers actually are more appealing to the eye. So I've chosen 3 of the baubles, and I've got a scrap piece of cardstock. Well, it's actually not, it's some copy paper. Then I'm just roughly stamping out my design, and I'm just not happy with that green one, which I was showing you there. I think it needs to be a little bit higher. And I've got a piece of 80-pound Nina cardstock, and it's cut to the width of my card. Now I haven't cut it down because I'm going to use my Misty, and if I make a mistake, I'm not wasting a whole piece of card that's a card front. I can actually just lop it off where my stamping is and move the cardstock up here. Bonus tip right there. I've done it before, so now I've learnt from my mistakes. Anyway, I'm using that piece of copy paper that I pre-stamped everything on to work out my placement so that I know everything's going to be where I want it to be. Obviously this green bauble, I did raise it up a little bit, and then this is a layering stamp set from Altenew, so I did go back and forth thinking what layers I wanted to use, and I could have used any. They're all beautiful, but you know, these are big decisions in Christmas cards. And I was really inspired, even though Michele's colours are not really traditional colours for Christmas, I think they work beautifully on a Christmas card. And her card wasn't a Christmas card, it was a floral card that she made for one of her design teams. So I was inspired by that card to make a Christmas card. I did sort of mention about copying, and a lot of people don't think that copying someone's card directly is a good thing to do, and to be honest, I don't mind at all. I don't mind. That's why I wouldn't put my designs out there if I didn't want someone to copy it. That's not the problem. I think most people would have problem when they're not recognized for their card design that's been copied. I mean, we are such an amazing community, and I think this is one of the best communities out there. The papercrafting community is such a generous and sharing group of people and really supportive. So I think that anybody would be chuffed if someone copied their card, but just link it or mention them so that they know that you copied, so that other people know to head over to them, because they might be inspired by other things or other creations that they've made. And we all have to start somewhere. I think with the casing of a card, it's a little bit different, because basically you're taking the card that you're casing. So casing means to copy and share everything, but you're not actually recreating it exactly. So what I've done here is used Michelle's basic layout, but I've reversed it, I've changed it. I've used her colours, but changed them up a little bit, but basically the same. And I've kept my card clean and simple. I've changed it into a Christmas card. I've used different stamps, but if you look at it, you can actually see that how I was inspired by her card. And how could I not be? It's a beautiful card. Now I've been stamping out all the layers here, and the Misty is an invaluable tool for this because I can line them up, I can restamp them if I need to. My mask that I used on my initial green bauble was a stamping mask paper, which has been one of my favourite masks to date, but I have been trying out the Masking Magic, which I used on the pink bauble, and guess what? I like the Masking Magic one better. It seemed to work better when I didn't give me the gap on the edge of the masking paper. But this is how I get around that. If you do ever mask something or misstamp something, you can always come in with a coloured pencil that's exactly the same colour or very similar colour and just lightly colour in the edges. I did also come in with a grey pencil because once I got started I couldn't stop. And I have added a little bit of shading as well, just to give a little bit of depth to the baubles. I'm going to do a very similar sentiment to Michelle's in the fact that I've white heat embossed it on some black cardstock, and it all started to go a little bit downhill from here. This is not for the faint-hearted. If you don't have a matching die for a stamp that has curls and swirls on it, I don't know, it took me a long time to cut this out. So I started by using, after I heat embossed it, I started using my paper trimmer because I've got the guide wire in that, so I did use that to cut my straight edges. It probably would have been easier had I used my metal ruler with a craft knife, and then I came in with my scissors that I do my fussy cutting with. These are some spring assisted scissors from Tonic, which are my favourite. They're so much my favourite that I've bought another pair because I've had these ones for 12 years, and you know what, if something ever happens to them, now I've got another pair. I don't need them yet, but I just have them just in case. Do you do that? Is that, and I don't think, is that a bad thing? I don't think it is. Anyway, I won't make you sit through all this cutting. It took me an age, and then I kept coming back in and futzing with it. So it's not perfect. I am very impressed that Michele does this on her cards, and I probably won't be doing it again real soon. Okay, so I did pop that up on the front of my card just with some black foam squares, so they do make it a bit hard to see. And I wanted to say that I will put the link to my card, to the card that Michele was inspired by me, because she's going to case one of my cards for Christmas too. So I'm pretty excited to see what she does. So I'll put that link in the description below. So she sometimes makes a video, so crossed fingers I get to see her create it too. Alright, thanks for joining me here today. Click on the like button if you did enjoy today's video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel because I'll be back again with some more inspiration. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.